on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Man, oh man, we are living through some very confusing times right now. Now, we are seeing right now inflation absolutely skyrocketing. Also, during a time where the dollar is actually strengthening. Very, very strange. We are seeing stocks falling and Bitcoin continues just to go sideways. In fact, we're sitting at around the same levels that we were a few weeks ago, and we are sitting just above the point of control. It's almost like Bitcoin is standing on the edge of the cliff, deciding whether or not it wants to jump. And some of the biggest questions right now is, if this is happening globally, why is it not sort of acting as that safe haven asset? And also just straight up, where are the buyers? Or like, where are these buyers? We are seeing, the levels get defended and it is still putting in that bullish structure, but we're not really seeing the massive demand that we would expect. Unless, of course, they are just secretly accumulating. Well, we do have some on-chain data specifically that I do want to go over to sort of show you what is happening right now in relationship between the small little fish and the big whales. But unfortunately, there is some bad news that did just come out of the UK with some potentially worse news coming out maybe this Monday from the European Parliament. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it is or isn't going to happen, but you might want to stick around to the end of this video because it could concern you just a little bit. And of course, I do want to talk about, right now we're hearing people say the dollar is going to absolutely collapse and Bitcoin's going to absolutely, replace everything, hyper Bitcoinization. Possibly, but actually, if we have a look at what's going on right now, the answer may lay somewhere in the middle. So definitely stick around to the end of today's video. We have a lot of things to cover. And of course, if you are not subscribed, definitely get subscribed. We will go over the short-term price action, but as you guys know, for the most part, it still is the same and it is the weekend. So let's dive in and have a look at what is happening right now. So as I've been saying, we have this massive point of control right here sitting at around $38,598. We're sitting slightly above it. However, you can see recently, zooming in and having a look at some of these candles, there has been a lot of sell pressure from the top, right? Every time we get up here, we have these big wicks, which means every time Bitcoin gets to that resistance, you see sellers massively selling. But we've also seen this support here. So it's a very confusing time for Bitcoin, which is why I continue to say that we are just essentially range bound. I know you guys want some crazy TA that I'm going to tell you some, thing that no one's talked about that's going to totally shock the world, but really it's very boring right now. We're just consolidating in either, a rising wedge pattern depending on where you look, or if you look at futures, it's more of an ascending triangle. Either way, it is arguably a sort of neutral type pattern only because we've come from a lot of sell pressure. But ultimately, guys, we could continue here, straight into May, really, if we wanted to. And Bitcoin could just bore the hell out of everyone for the next few months. That is one possibility. If you do want to look on the short term right now, if you are looking to trade Bitcoin, it does look like we are forming a bit of a diamond pattern right here. And diamond patterns usually signal reversals, even if they're just temporary. So there is that potential chance that Bitcoin does at least, try to have a breakout again to the upside. But, ultimately, guys, it is the weekend, so I wouldn't really trust any of these moves until Monday comes. But, take that with a grain of salt. You guys can do what you want. But if you do want to talk about what's happening on chain right now, you can see over here at Ecoinometrics, I'm sorry, Bitcoin whales and small fish, two different worlds right now. So we have the little fish right here, which is everyone accumulating with wallets less than 1 Bitcoin. And then on the bottom right here, you're seeing between 1,000 to 10,000 Bitcoin. So what we're seeing is the small fish, okay, the tiny retail investors are accumulating like absolute crazy right now. And the large whales are essentially just in a distribution pattern. So they tend to say, or at least they're saying, that maybe there's not enough of this demand from the whales. We're not seeing enough momentum to really push Bitcoin to the upside. So then in turn, you're seeing a lot of these guys, for example, Gareth Soloway, he's been calling for 24,000, 20,000, even sub $20,000 Bitcoin. Well, what is the possibility that that actually happens? Well, If you have a look at what Plan C has pointed out over here on Twitter, and if you're not following the real Plan C, I highly recommend you go check out his analysis. It's very incredible. But you can see right here, he has the confluence floor model, and go follow him. He goes over how he figures all this stuff out. It's really interesting, but you can see right here, the only 3 times that Bitcoin touched this floor model were the 3 best times to buy over the last 10 years. You had the bottom of the 2014 bear market we never touched anywhere, all the way up here until we finally had that capitulation, right? 2018, 2019, boom. And then, of course, right here, we had the COVID crash. Now, you could see that we're nowhere near those levels, which is why maybe, sure, people could be afraid that Bitcoin could go lower. But just to point out, even if we were to have the insane black swan event, don't forget, the COVID crash was a black swan event. Even if we were to have one right now, the floor model only puts Bitcoin at $26,683, right? So even if you are looking to have this massive correction, you're still looking at that floor. Plus, you also have the 200 weekly moving average, slowly approaching. It is on an upwards trend. So worst case scenario, a lot of people have talked about this little meme gap down here on the CME futures. This gap is between 24,600 and 26. I mean, is there this possibility, that we capitulate down there really quick, bounce back out, touch the bottom of this band, and then continue? It is a possibility, but keep in mind, the odds of us staying there are not really very long. So ultimately, if you were looking to accumulate Bitcoin, not financial advice, this could be some of the best areas to do it, right? Now, the thing that's interesting, though, is during a time of all this inflation, we are seeing the dollar, continue to get stronger. Now, this is, of course, on the lower time frames. If we zoom out, the dollar has been on a massive downtrend for many, many, many years since they started charting it here around 1985. But it is rising faster than pay for many American workers. They say 38% of consumers said that they tried to spend less by cutting non-essential spending and canceling or putting off trips. But guys, like Taylor pointed out, and this is what I was saying the other day, gas is now officially more expensive than the movie I Am Legend imagined it would be during the apocalypse. But guys, everything is fine. Inflation is going down. It's getting better every day, right? That's what they're telling us.
What specifically can you point to that has worked to bring down inflation?
Well, there are a number of steps we've taken. If you compare month to month, we've seen inflationary pressure or inflationary numbers go down month to month.
Like Heidi from Crypto Tips said, if they're lying directly to your face, imagine what they're doing behind your back, right? But they actually, and I have to play this clip for you, so they actually asked the vice president what her opinion was about this rampant inflation and gas prices, and this was her response.
If I can ask you, Madam Vice President, President Biden has said that Americans will feel some pain for the sake of defending freedom and liberty, but there does seem to be no end game in sight. How long should Americans expect? How long should we be bracing for this really sort of historic inflation and some unprecedented gas prices?
Sure. In terms of the discussions that the President, Johannes, and I had, they ranged in subject, including the issue of the Black Sea, and I'll let him explain in more detail as he would like. But we are, again, fully aware and apprised, because we are in constant communication with the President, with his administration here, about the concerns that they have about the entire region and, frankly, the vulnerability. All you have to do is look at the map.
All right, so Chamath Palihapitiya, he actually, he's a billionaire. He's been very vocal about Bitcoin. He actually commented on sort of what a lot of people have been talking about, saying conventional wisdom is that the war in Ukraine is the crypto boom we've all been waiting for, and that the US dollar is on its last legs. He says, but in reality, Bitcoin and the US dollar are both winning right now. Very interesting take. So he says Bitcoin is separating itself as an institutional grade safe haven, as every other crypto asset and the US denominated assets are well bid versus assets in other currencies. When Bitcoin falls, other cryptos fall more. When US assets fall, other non-US denominated assets, currencies get smoked. So the fact that we have kind of just seen Bitcoin continuing sideways during a time where we have just seen, traditional commodities falling, we know what happened to the Russian ruble, maybe this really truly is the beginning of it starting to become that safe haven asset, right? If it was just totally 100% crazy risk off speculative, would we not have seen an even harder sell-off when we did have the conflict begin over in Europe? That is something to mention. And if you actually look at what Peter Brandt was talking about, he says it's time for the new and younger generation to invest in Bitcoin. Now, Peter Brandt is a, legendary trader. He actually became very popular when he called Bitcoin's price drop in 2018. But he believes that they should invest the majority of their savings in Bitcoin and strong company equities. Brandt stated that even if Bitcoin is still generally untrusted and unproven by a huge number of people as well as local governments as of present, it can implicate various trends which can lengthen interest value. So according to Brandt, Bitcoin is almost halfway through its current bull market from a price low. So he doesn't think that it is in a bear market right now. He pointed out that the long-term Bitcoin bull market is in fact still intact. His technical analysis indicates that it may continue to rise, albeit with some corrections along the way. And based on its long-term trend channel, he anticipates Bitcoin will reach $180,000 to $200,000 potentially by the third or fourth quarter of this year. So there's some people saying there's no way we're even going to go to 100,000 given everything that's happening right now. You're lucky if Bitcoin breaks, even at these levels by the end of the year. And Peter Brandt, who did successfully call the 2018 bear, dump, is now saying that he does see it going to 180 to 200,000 potentially by the end of this year. Let me know what you guys think about that below in the comments. But the thing that I always want to point out is, ultimately when you do realize no matter how you slice it and dice it, even if the dollar is getting stronger in the short term, look at all the people in the world. And right here, this is the relationship versus Bitcoin. And like the crypto couple pointed out with this graphic, it's just simple math. Obviously, there's not exactly one dot per person, but you could see by the relationship that there's clearly not enough Bitcoin for everyone in the world, and they are realizing how scarce it is. In fact, Kevin O'Leary came out recently and admitted that he has up to 20% in Bitcoin and crypto right now.
I don't know where you are on crypto. You were so negative for a while and just definitive, like you always are. You may know nothing, but you're never in doubt, but you were so negative. Then you got totally positive. Do you own Bitcoin now? Kevin, what's your position in crypto right now? You do. Have you sold,
it's
sold
20%
major parts of it? You have a lot of it?
Look, Bitcoin is not a coin, Joe. It's simply software. Ethereum is software. If you own, HBAR software, if you own Microsoft, if you own Google, why don't you own Bitcoin? It's all software. It's productivity software.
You own one Bitcoin? Do you have a real position in it? Because you're a wealthy guy.
I have millions of dollars. 20% of my portfolio is now in cryptocurrencies and blockchain.
And even though Bitcoin and altcoins haven't really been performing so well recently, you have Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz remaining highly bullish on the industry. In fact, he was talking about Joe Biden's executive order on crypto, and he described the directive as a welcomed engagement from the administration, which could create an opportunity for the U.S. to become the global leader in the digital asset universe. Specifically, he urged the financial watchdog to implement a comprehensive regulatory framework that allows crypto to flourish in the U.S. and develop around the world in a manner consistent with democratic values. Now, while this is a little bit of a neutral stance to bullish stance over here in the US, it is not really looking so great in the UK and as far as the European Parliament is concerned, which we'll get to in a second. But you can actually see right now that the FCA has issued a termination order for Bitcoin ATMs. So this is over in the United Kingdom. This is very, very interesting. So in what comes as a surprise to many within the industry, the UK authority has issued a stern shutdown or face further action order to operators of Bitcoin ATMs, outlining their intention to contact these companies to affirm the notice. So the watchdog cited a lack of regulatory structure, the high risk potential of fluctuating assets, and importance of upholding the principles established within the money laundering regulation as the primary reasons for the enforcement. So they don't like the fact that you can go to these ATMs anonymously and just put cash in, get a QR code, scan it, or, have money sent to your account, and nobody knows who or what did this, right? And this is something that I do think is a little bit negative, obviously, but ultimately what they really want is they want to do it with non-registered ATMs. So this is the issue right here. They're going to want the KYC. They're going to only want you, to use, maybe you can only do it with a credit card now, right? Or you have to provide some type of KYC. And that's because they just simply want to know who is owning it and what you're doing with it. We knew this was coming. This is essentially what they're saying in the executive order. And this is why you're going to see the KYC probably getting a lot more strict over here in the US as well. Unfortunately, I think banning the ATMs might have been a little too hasty, but jumping the gun on it a bit. But the one thing that was a little worrisome, and I did just want to mention this, and this is the potential bad news, which I kept to the end of the video, because if you stuck around, I really just wanted to let you guys know that this is what Patrick Hansen is saying. So obviously he's strategy and growth over at Unstoppable DeFi, and he is saying that the proof of work ban has basically made its way back into the draft of the European Parliament that will be voted on in the committee on Monday. Now, we had talked about this on the channel. So 4 days ago, you had this guy, Dr. Stefan Berger. He tweeted that his new compromise dropped any banning of proof of work, right? So this wasn't going to be a problem. They weren't going to address proof of work mining, which is what Bitcoin is. Now, just before the vote, a last minute draft brings back the ban. So now, are we looking to ban Bitcoin mining over in UK and neighboring countries and things like that? I don't know. Okay, maybe they're talking about just other cryptos, or maybe they're just talking about, banning dirty mining, right? I mean, that's essentially what we've kind of seen going on in the US and even in Russia. They're incentivizing the green mining. But the wording of the proof of work ban has changed, but the effect is essentially the same. Crypto assets that are deemed unsustainable will be prohibited from being used, offered, or admitted to trading. So this is a little bit scary. So this isn't just talking about mining. This is saying that if the cryptocurrencies themselves are deemed unsustainable, then you wouldn't be allowed to use them. So then that would include Bitcoin. Like I said, a little bit confusing right here. Existing cryptocurrencies shall set up and maintain a phased rollout plan to ensure compliance with such requirements. But since there is no way Bitcoin can and will implement a rollout plan out of the proof of work, this would affect Bitcoin. The implementation of this article would kill the competitiveness of EU crypto businesses and drive plenty of capital, talent, and companies out of the EU. So in a time where you've actually seen the US sort of take no action whatsoever and even slightly embrace it, this could be a setback for Europe, for the EU, so I don't know if what Patrick is saying is maybe he's kind of freaking out a little bit too much. We really have to see what happens on Monday. Same thing like we kind of had to see what happened with the executive order. You don't really want to jump the gun. You don't want to get too scared. You don't want to get too excited. Wait and see what they say. Don't try to trade the news, that never usually works. But I just wanted to bring that up to you guys. And before we go, did anybody else get this Coinbase email asking for all this information? Gavin Andreessen said, "Hey, Coinbase, why do you need 3 months of my bank statements to keep my account open?" Sorry about that. Well, yeah, I actually had the same thing. They just sent this to me, compliance KYC, and, please provide additional details around your current or previous occupation, source of funds, primary sources, 3 months worth of bank statements. So pretty crazy. I don't know how I feel about Coinbase doing that. Yeah, I guess if I don't give them this information, they're gonna shut down my account, but, there's still a lot of other opportunities out there. Coinbase isn't the only way to get your money in and out of crypto. But, that being said, that is a situation. But like I said, guys, ultimately having a look right here, really the reason why, I've been a little sparse with the videos is because we're still just consolidating. We're still just putting in this higher trend. And what we really want to do is we want to break out above here around this $46,400 level. If we can break above $46,400, then I think we go a lot higher. And for me, the base level right here that I don't want to see us go lower essentially is right here around the $29,000 to $28,000 level, where we would end up putting in the giant, M shape. But as of today, we're just consolidating in no man's land. So that is it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. If you are looking to trade these charts, if you want to try to trade these Bitcoin charts, you can. I do have tutorials popping up right here, right now. Please be safe, guys, and yeah, I highly recommend probably in these situations, just chill out, dollar cost average. But if you are interested, there is $8,000 in bonuses below. Thanks so much. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.